Hello and welcome to a special interview episode of Adult Music. This is actually interview
Finally.
4. Yeah, it's been a long time, Mike.
It's been a long time. Glad to be back in the interviewing chair.
And this is a result of our recent episode 64, Ménage a Trio, where we featured all groups of 3 in classical and jazz. And on there, an outstanding recording we both really fell in love with right away was the recording called Safe Place by the Jako organ trio. And as usual, Mike had to have the CD right away. So he went...
Yeah, there it was.
Yeah, he went looking for it. And he actually got a signed copy from Jako, isn't that right?
Well, actually, he didn't sign it. He sent a note with it that he signed, but he didn't actually sign the CD, which is fine. I kind of like them clean, but, you know.
Anyway, Mike invited him on for an interview, and he was happy to come on and tell us all about his background coming up as a guitar player in Greece and now active in Germany. We got some insight into the music scene in Greece, and also we got the genesis for all of the cool tunes, original and cover selections for his recording.
Yeah, you could say we had a Ménage a Trio ourselves, if you choose.
So this is going to complete our special edition of Greek Week here on Adult Music.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in college again.
Yeah, Greek Week. If you haven't listened to this recording, you may want to check it out first. Just go back to episode 64. I'll check out the link that I'll put in the description here, and then kick back and enjoy our interview with Iakovos Symeonidis. Iakovos, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, I got in touch with Iakovos. Can we call you Jako? Because the Jako organ
Jako
trio.
is like that's right. Jako is my nickname, let's say, here. That's how people call me here, like my friends and stuff, and other musicians.
Yeah, that's how you've been signing your email, which I received from you because I actually bought the CD, which I have right here. It's just nice to have a CD in my hand, okay? I just love CDs. This one came by itself. It didn't come in the dump truck that dropped the last load off at my house.
So how we found you.
I'm pleased to have that.
Jako is, one of the things I wanted to do with our podcast is, as we were just talking before, streaming versus CDs. The great thing of streaming is you have access to all this music, everything around the world. But where do you start? It's kind of intimidating. And
that's right.
A lot of people just end up listening to the same thing that other people listen to, and the recommendations aren't that great. So I built up a bank of links that have international releases, and I check them every day. And so I saw, your release on there. And one of the things Mike and I both love are organ trios. So I saw, all right, organ trio.
I love them too.
Yeah.
So it's 3 of us.
And I said, and from Greece. I said, well, that's cool. And then when I looked at the mix of tunes, which we'll get to later, I said, this definitely goes on the to listen list. And when I put that down there, and I said, once I heard it, I was like, I'm hooked. So this is going to definitely go on an episode coming up. Yeah, so.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Sure. I should let listeners know Russ has an aesthetic for choosing jazz albums, which you met, actually, Jako, so congratulations.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy, actually, that, people like what we're doing, what I'm doing, and, actually from... you're actually in Japan, but you're like from the States. So it's like, a global like idea, right? I'm from Greece. I live in Berlin.
Yeah.
Music connects us together, kind of.
Exactly.
That's where the 21st century finds us. Yeah.
That's the wonder of everything that's going on. So let's go back to the beginning. Let us know, how did you, start out in music? Was guitar your first instrument? And you're originally born in Athens, is that right?
Yeah. So I was born in Athens. And basically, I started playing the guitar when I was 10 years old, around this time. So, like, my family is not really like a musical family or anything. Like, my parents don't really play any instrument, or, to be honest, they don't really have, like, such a huge interest in music.
Right.
They're, just, let's say, passive listeners, listening what's on the radio and stuff.
That's like both of our families.
Yeah.
Okay. And... yeah, the thing is, like, I have an older brother and a twin sister, actually. So we're like 3. And yeah, you know, it's like this thing that your parents are, let's say, positive in, you know, either kids learning an instrument. Mm-hmm. So my brother, who is older, started playing the electric bass when he was like a teenager and stuff, and hanging with his friends, you know, kind of, you know, having some groups and stuff. So, you know, I was, yeah, like the younger brother, kind of like, oh, these guys are cool. How can I also be cool, you know? So I was like, yeah, maybe I should learn the guitar, you know, and maybe in the end be cool and hang with the older ones, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So that's how it started. And basically I started taking classical guitar lessons from my first teacher, like a local teacher in this region in Athens that I grew up. It's called Alimos. Basically, it's like a place close to the beach in Athens. Yeah, so basically I started learning the classical guitar and practicing the classical repertoire and everything, you know, like this Segovia vibe.
Yeah.
And basically I did that for almost like 13 years in the end. Which, I didn't expect that to happen, but yeah, I mean, I graduated from the National Conservatory in Athens, like with a soloist diploma in classical guitar, playing Villa Lobos and Bach suites and, you know, all that stuff. But also at the same time, I was playing like electric guitar with different bands and, you know, just kind of getting some, let's say, more like semi-professional experience, playing more like rock, blues, this kind of stuff. And one day, basically from classical guitar, there was this classical guitar player who actually passed away some years ago, Roland Diens, who is from France, which was like one of my favorite classical guitar players. Mm-hmm. And I had also a masterclass with him when I was like 13 or something. Anyway, he made an album where he played actually jazz standards, but on classical guitar. And basically, there weren't really like improvisation. It was like prearranged everything, you know? But it sounded cool to me. I was like, oh man, that sounds so cool. And I started like learning these songs from this album because the sheet music was available, so I could read everything and practice it and stuff like that. And then, you know, by research and stuff, I went to Joe Pass. I was like, oh, this guy is cool, you know, plays solo guitar with fingers like I mostly was doing. And I was like, okay, so let's see how can I do that by myself. And yeah, basically I remember I printed the chart of all the things you are. Right. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? You know, like, what should I do with all these chords and stuff? It's not like, you know, like a rock tune where it's like one key, like one tone center. It's like, I have to basically navigate the changes. How can I do that, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I started with jazz guitar. I went to a really acclaimed jazz guitar teacher in Greece and jazz guitar player, one of the older generation people who actually created the jazz in Greece that we know today. His name is Panagiotis Samaras, or people call him Yotis.
Okay.
That's like his nickname, like Jako, Yotis, kind
of like
this idea. I started like having lessons with him. And then after a couple of years, I went to the Netherlands and like studied that on the university at the Prince Claus Conservatorium in Groningen in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And that's kind of it.
Yeah, I just want to say, Joe Pass is quite a high bar for a guitar player. He's really,
for sure,
he was really an incredible player. Would you call him an influence? Do you have any influences as a jazz guitarist?
Yeah, so I definitely do. I think Joe Pass was like one of the people who like really got my attention, but I wouldn't say that he's like, I mean, of course, he's one of the greats and like, he's still my favorite. But I would say the ones that are really like, let's say, you know, I got many, and I would call them really my influences are like Graham Greene and Kenny Burrell.
Yeah,
because
Kenny Burrell's great.
Actually, back in that day, I started like, you know, my jazz, like, let's say, research, and I found like a CD. Yeah, it was a CD in some kind of pawn shop or something in Athens. And this was like Jimmy Smith, the Jimmy Smith album with Kenny Burrell that, it's called this one. Yeah, I don't remember like the name, but it was one of these albums where it's like they actually play also with Stanley Turrentine. They just play, all of them are blues tunes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, this sound, this is what I want to do, you know, like that's it, you know. And that's the start. That started the love of organ trio also.
Fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, Jimmy Smith. And Kenny Burrell had that kind of classical ability too. You know, he would mix in sort of Spanish kind of ideas that made his style unique. Yeah.
That's true. He also as far as I know, he studied classical guitar back in the day. He has a degree in classical guitar.
Yeah.
And actually he plays a nylon string guitar on What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, he plays there, the nylon string guitar. He plays in many recordings that we don't really know.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, but I think you've already answered it, because when I watched the video from your new release and I watched you play with the trio, one of the things that I noticed about your playing, this guy plays so relaxed with almost no visible tension in his hands and body. So I was originally a trumpet player, and I picked up guitar later in life. And I told myself, well, I want to just play guitar for fun. And I've tried to pick up, just from players better than me and pick up techniques. And one of the things I've always had a problem with is, when you play trumpet, you have a certain amount of tension with the air pressure. And you see, trumpet players straining. And I tend to bring too much of that to the guitar. Like I squeeze it too much and I'm gripping it. And I noticed when I watched your playing, you're so smooth and your hands look so free of tension. I said, wow, this guy's really smooth in his playing. But now that I know you come from a classical background, I'm sure that was a big part of your training, coming up with the techniques. So.
Yeah, to be honest, so that's something many times I think of myself, and also I talk about that with my students and their parents sometimes when they're kids. It's many times kids want to start with electric guitar, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of an education thing, but anyway. So I realized that actually it's a good idea to spend a couple of years on the acoustic guitar,
Sure.
I think you can only benefit from that. It doesn't really get anything away, to be honest. In terms of producing the sound, understanding that actually, no matter how many knobs or pedals or whatever you have, in the end, your hands have to create the sound, And I think in the acoustic guitar, if it's nylon string or steel string, it doesn't really matter. You have to do that, and you learn that. And this is something that always follows you, whatever you want to play.
Yeah, and you get a sense of that, with acoustic guitar. And, especially like classical, it leans into your body and you feel that resonance and you get a appreciation for the production of the sound. And, that's
really true.
All acoustic, and you feel it in your body. And it's a wonderful feeling. You don't get that from an electric instrument.
No, and also I think you also realize how important the positioning of the instrument is when you play acoustic guitar. Because, sometimes you have this idea, electric guitar, you see Metallica with the guitar really low and stuff, and you want to do that. But then that doesn't really help you. But, if you see actually Wes Montgomery playing on videos and stuff, basically the posture of the guitar is how a classical guitar player would have it.
Yeah.
If you really think about it. Mm-hmm. It's like the guitar is up, the neck is up. It's kind of like the same idea as a classical guitar player, because that's how your hands are more free and you don't have to stress your body, as you were saying before.
Yeah.
I think this posture actually is the best you can play guitar, this kind of classical guitar posture, which on electric guitar you can either have a footrest or you can do it with a strap, that's why I'm doing it. I have the strap really high, so the guitar is always on the same position.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Wow. So when you're coming up and then playing some jazz in Athens, what's the jazz scene like in Greece? And I would assume it's centered around Athens. And then now you're in Germany. So how do you feel the difference between those worlds in terms of performing jazz and the sort of climate and community of musicians?
Yeah. So the thing is, in Greece, let's say, I think the biggest difference is basically when all the legends Chet Baker, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan were touring Europe, they weren't really visiting Greece and Athens. Mm-hmm. And that was happening because this was happening during the 60s, usually, or like early 70s. Yeah. And basically during that time, Greece had a dictatorship.
Right.
So like, you know, the minds, let's say, weren't really open in having, you know, musicians from abroad and having jazz musicians or anything. Basically, during the dictatorship, Rolling Stones concert took place in Athens, which after 2 songs, the police broke. You know, it's like the police came in and started like beating people and stuff. So I think that basically had an effect in, let's say, the fact that in Greece, an audience for jazz wasn't really created. Whereas in Europe, in Germany, in the Netherlands, in Italy, like there are people, like older people than me, like, you know, in their 50s and 60s, who actually really love jazz and have been to jazz concerts from the legends even, not really like from just a local player or whatever, but from Louis Armstrong or from, you know, Joe Pass and stuff.
Right.
That really creates an audience and really makes it different, I think.
Right.
And I think, you know, Greece is like kind of like the sleeping giant who now kind of wakes up, you know?
Right.
Because the thing is like from, let's say, 2000 or something, there are like so many new bands, new musicians, which, to be honest, most of them come from the Corfu University. It's like the musical department in Corfu in Greece. It's like Corfu is an island, right?
Right.
So that's like the jazz department in Greece. It's there. And there are so many great musicians coming from this school, which create bands and projects, and they play with people, you know, from all the generations or blah, blah. And this has created like a totally new scene and so many good musicians, you know? Right. It's obviously for me, I was also, even though I didn't study there, I have many friends who are like there, and basically I'm influenced from that too, you know? That's really important to the Greek scene.
I want to ask you, are the audiences very... Is there a big audience for jazz in Greece, or do you find that there's a bigger audience in Europe these days?
I think, yeah, that's the thing. In Greece, not really, and especially because mainly everything is happening in Athens, like mainly. And the thing is, like, let's say in Greece, younger people are more into listening to jazz.
Oh, good.
But let's say, I think abroad, older people are more into listening to jazz, kind of, you know? It's kind of, or let's say, all the generations. But in Greece, the older people, like, let's say my parents' generation, or like in their 60s, they're like, jazz, what is that, you know? Why my kid is playing this Ella Fitzgerald? What is that, you know? What happened to him, you know? This idea.
That was what our parents' were like.
Yeah.
What's wrong with my kid?
There might be a new crop of young musicians in this generation that, you know, jazz will have a kind of blooming future with the next generation in Greece. That would be something to look forward to. Yeah.
But the most important thing is also, you know, like that little by little more and more clubs are being created in Athens and in Greece in general. Because, you know, if you don't have clubs to host the music, then you don't have a scene, you don't have music, you know?
Right.
And I think during COVID, we really realized that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
for sure. Everywhere. Yeah. You must miss Greece being in Germany. I've been to Athens a couple of times, and I would miss the food.
They're very different
at least.
Places.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, that's for sure. But, you know, like Greece is like, you know, it's a great country to be, and always I have a great time there. To be honest, that's why after living in the Netherlands for 4 years, that's why I picked to live in Berlin, because I feel like there are some similarities in the cities, like Athens and Berlin. They kind of have some similarities, at least to my understanding. And I feel here that's closer to home, you know, than in the Netherlands when I was living there.
Right. So we've got something else to do when we go to Athens next time. We can go to a jazz club.
Yeah, I want to check it out.
For sure.
Wait. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
I mean... Maybe you'll be like happily surprised, you know?
Oh, I'm sure I will.
That'd be great. So for this new recording, The Safe Place, you went back to Athens to do that with other Greek musicians. How did that kind of form together from what you're doing in Germany to go back and get this project started? Yeah,
so the thing is like even before I moved to Berlin, I started playing with this organ player, Iakovos, who basically is a professor at the Ionian University that I mentioned before. He's a professor there of Hammond organ and piano. And yeah, we started playing together. I just, called him one day. I was like, hey, I'm Iakovos and I'm studying in the Netherlands. And I will be, in Athens this summer. Would you like to play some gigs with me? And he's so generous always and so open and so into helping younger musicians. And he was like, yeah, of course, let's do it. And we started playing together. And then, little by little, I started bringing my original tunes and these arrangements and stuff of the Motown soul tunes that I do. And it's like, yeah, we should do that. It's nice that we play them on some gigs, but you should do that as a record, And yeah, I mean, the idea was to do it before COVID. Then COVID started, and got a little bit delayed and everything. But yeah, in the end, we managed to do it. And I'm really happy about it, to be honest. It was really a tough time, but we made it.
Right. Yeah, we're actually going to talk about his new recording this week on the podcast.
All right. What's new, though? Because during the quarantine, she recorded like 4 albums or something.
Wow.
One where he's got the slide guitar on there, which makes it really interesting. Yeah.
The passing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so, wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
That'd be interesting.
I will tell you something, though. Don't tell that to anybody, right?
Yeah. Well, so you're about to tell everybody now.
You're going to tell everyone if you tell it to.
Okay. Maybe should I tell you, though? He has a new album out with the legendary British guitar player Jim Mallon. That got released, I think, a couple of months ago. This one is called London 3. It's also an organ trio album.
Oh, we'll have to look out for that one.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
We have a lot of organ albums on this podcast.
Yeah, we love organ. We can't get enough of it.
We do. We can't get enough of it, really.
I really enjoyed the drummer. Yannis Papadopoulos?
Yannis, yes. Yeah, that's right.
He's a really fun drummer to watch. He has an interesting style. He really, added a lot in terms of a drummer who knows how to really bring things up and, add some fire, when
that's
things are building up. Yeah.
I mean, I really like how he plays in the way that he has, as you said, his own style, which is sometimes, we, let's say, try to, learn things from our heroes and stuff and from our influences. Mm-hmm. But I think for him, and that's why I admire him so much, he has his own style, which seems to be really natural, really coming from him,
right.
It doesn't look like he practiced like this guy or that guy or whatever. It comes from him. It's raw, kind of a raw power, which I really it's I think it also totally matches with this music that we're playing on the album.
And he also looked, rather than, you see some drummers, they're poised to attack, but he's sort of just, he looks like he just sat down for a good meal, but then he's so spot on with everything, and he hits everything accurately. It was really kind of
I mean, he's visual. Great. He's great, and he's literally busy now on the Greek scene. It's basically, if you actually go to Greece, probably you'll find him somewhere because he plays probably 7 days per week or something,
Right.
Yeah, we'll definitely go if we're ever allowed to travel again.
Get back to Athens to check out some jazz in the clubs.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, before we go on, I wanted to ask about, you'd mentioned that George Contraforce is a professor of the Hammond organ. Now, he's not playing a Hammond organ on this album, is that right? It's a different kind of organ?
Okay, yeah. So,
what's up with this?
It's a Nord.
He plays yeah, exactly. So that's the Nord, I think the C3 model, which is a clone, digital version of a clone. And so basically he has also the real Hammond, and basically he has everything. He has a real Fender Rhodes at home. He has all that stuff.
Right.
A Leslie and all the equipment. So basically through the years, also before he was, carrying everything,
right.
But all this is super difficult. And sometimes it's also difficult in terms of, you go to a gig and something might stop working because everything's analog and, some tube will go down or whatever. So sometimes we've had this thing that, he would bring the Leslie, but then somehow the Leslie will not work because of the cable or something. And,
right.
And this always was causing, let's say, some problems in a way. I mean, it was nice because it's other experience to, have the actual Leslie and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And through the years, he was like, okay, I will, switch to the Nord, which actually I think it's really like the sound is almost like you're listening the real thing. I don't think you can hear any difference. It makes life much more easier.
I didn't notice. Russ had to point it out to me.
The tone quality is good, but as you say, I mean, a Hammond is not, it's not the most portable of instruments.
So, that's for sure, And, like, I think now it's kind of a trend. I don't know if it has to do with, how we live these days or anything, but, like I see like Jody Francesco and these like, organ legends. They don't really play on gigs, at least, with the real Hammonds anymore.
Right.
So much, I think that has to do with portability and with, being always secure that no matter what, it will work on the gig.
Yeah.
It's really important especially if you're touring or you're like playing a lot of gigs and stuff, you need something that that you can trust. And that's also with guitar and guitar amplifiers. I think, it's great to have a tube amp, but actually, I was like always a tube amp guy in my life, but like the last tube amp that I had basically broke on a gig, like got burned actually on a gig. And from this time I was like, okay, tube amps are not really happening for me anymore,
Yeah,
like,
right. The reliability, yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, the reliability is really important if you want to do like, because otherwise what are you gonna do? Carry 2 organs?
Yeah.
Or carry like 2 tube amps? That's not possible,
No. Well, let's talk about the album. I'd be interested to get a little information on the inspiration of the songs. So you started out with, first of all, I really like the mix of, it's sort of like the perfect recipe, I think. You've got your originals, you've got some covers of, other originals by jazz musicians, which I think is always important because so many tunes are neglected. There's a lot of great originals, and then they pass on through history and people don't record them enough. And you've got a couple surprises in there too. And I think just one standard on here. So I was intrigued by the mixture of material you put together. But the first one was kind of fun, the Flixbus Blues. Is there a story that goes with that too? I imagine there was.
And what is a Flixbus?
Yeah. It's a German bus company.
Tell me. It's a German bus company?
Exactly. Okay. So it's like a German bus company. So they have like these routes that basically connect like Central and Northern Europe. So if you want to go from the Netherlands to Germany or stuff like that. So the story is like in my last year in the Netherlands, I was like in a long distance relationship with my girlfriend. And through weekends, I had to use this Flixbus to go from the Netherlands to Germany. Berlin, that she was already here. And, like, basically the problem with Flixbus, or like, okay, I mean, I shouldn't say that, but sometimes there were like some negative experiences there.
I can imagine.
So Now, sometimes there's like things like, you're like super tired and stuff because you had to be in the bus for all these hours and stuff. But sometimes, there were some behaviors or some like organizational stuff or some kind of more, let's say things that have to do with, who is, let's say, entering the bus.
Sure.
And this kind of thing, I was like, oh man, okay, I should write something about that has to do with my experiences there. So that's the Flixbus Blues.
Yeah, it's a good inspiration for a blues too. Yeah. Right.
Cool. I'm going to have to listen to this again now.
That's right.
Think about that,
And then you've got one of these covers of another jazz musician, the McCoy Tyner's Man from Tanganyika. I thought that was a cool choice. It's a really groovy tune for organ. How did you choose that one?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So basically that's like, all of these tunes were like tunes that we played on gigs and stuff. And we like kind of checked what works and what doesn't work and what we like to play. So basically this one was one, like George, the organ player, or as we call him, Furis. That's like his nickname.
Furis.
He has like his, his book with like the vague tunes that nobody really plays so much and stuff. But because, he's like a guru of like, he's like a library of music, If you go to his house, you will see like so many records and CDs and stuff. Basically, I don't know, he has something like 1,000 vinyls. And he was like, hey, you know, I have this tune, like, do you like it? Maybe we can try it out and stuff. And that's how we started playing it, and it became like a little bit of like, in a way, original, because we put some vamps and stuff inside, and we made it our own, brought it in our own like style. Yeah, and that's the story of this one. It became kind of like an original tune, although it's not, you know, because we're always playing it on gigs and stuff.
Yeah, the arrangement's really cool. And then I thought, I think I have this McCoy Tyner album, but I've never heard anybody else record it. So I thought, oh, that's cool. A real cool choice, you know, a little obscure, done in an original way.
Yeah, I really like, you know, I also feel like when we play gigs and stuff, it's nice to have some tunes that are not so... as you said before, there should be some kind of balance. Some tunes that are not so, let's say, played, and some tunes that are actually everybody kind of loves. So in order to, you know, like when you go home, you're like, oh, this tune I didn't know. Maybe I should check it out or something. You know? Like bring some homework home, you know.
Right. But now I see. You mentioned that he like suggested this tune. It's got this very groovy organ intro to it, and so I can see that. You know, it's something he likes, and so it's a good vehicle for that.
He's also like a huge McCoy Tyner fan.
Okay.
Like, hugely. Also on the piano, when you hear him playing the piano, you can kind of hear that influence for sure.
Right. And the next tune, another one of your originals, Safe Place. And I call this, I describe this like the cruising groove. There's this kind of organ trio kind of thing, and it just gets that kind of, you imagine the top down and driving along by the ocean kind of feel.
That's exactly the idea behind it. That's right.
Oh, wow.
And
so what would the safe place be?
Yeah, so basically I was teaching a student of mine, and I was like, this riff that is in the beginning, it was kind of happened during the lesson. Like I was trying to explain to her how she can use some like triads and stuff, and I came up with this riff. I was like, oh, that sounds good. And then I realized that I would like to have a tune that feels like chill and lovely, you know, kind of, you know, makes you calm a little bit, because also that was during lockdown and stuff, during COVID times. And then I realized, this brings you like this kind of, you know, sense of safe. It's like this could be your safe place when you feel really stressed, and during, you know, the quarantine and stuff, we felt always really, you know, had so many emotions and so many anxieties for the future. And for me, who I live abroad, like you guys, you like didn't know about what will happen with your families back home or whatever. You always had this stress. I need something that actually distresses that. And that's the idea of the Safe Place song and the album, I think, you know.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's a nice sentiment.
It's a happy tune. And what I like on this one, you do, in your solo, you get a little bit more chordy with like a chord solo kind of thing. And then it gets kind of funky strumming at the end. And I like to hear like a chord solo kind of thing sometimes. And it sort of fits the atmosphere of this tune a lot.
I like that too. You know, I feel like many times with jazz guitar today, we miss these elements of more rhythm and more like, you know, kind of funk, but not really like funk in that sense, more like playing something that's more rhythmical, you know. We're more like into the open stuff, which is of course great, but for me it's also like I really like this kind of more, you know, pocket idea.
It fits this tune perfectly. And then I was really happy to hear this one because I would never expected it, but
we both kind of
because this is a great album. You know, this album never gets old. You can listen to it today, and you could think it was not, you know, recorded last year or something. You know, I'm talking about Donny Hathaway's live album from whatever it is, 71 or something.
Man, that's amazing.
And so Little Ghetto Boy. How did you pick this tune? Because I haven't heard a jazz version of this. It's great.
So again, it's like a long story. So during Christmas of 2020, would be like, I think the first Christmas of quarantine and stuff, that I couldn't go to like meet my family and stuff during Christmas. So I was listening like a lot of Christmas music and stuff with my girlfriend, and one of the songs was like, you know, this Donny Hathaway, This Christmas, this tune, right?
Right.
And then I started investigating more the like discography of Dan Hathaway and his style and his life. And yeah, I figured out this live album was like really great, and that was like on repeat for many weeks. I was like, man, that's so great. Like I have to do something with it, like pick something from there because it's so great and do it. And yeah, I picked the Little Ghetto Boy because also I really like the meaning behind it, the words and stuff. And to many friends and stuff that I talk about Danny Hathaway in Europe and in Greece, were like, who's this guy, And I'm like, oh yeah, so maybe you should check that out. Like you should check his whole discography and the words of his tunes and what he's talking about. And for me, that was really like why I picked this song.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, Little Ghetto Boy. Still the same story after so many years.
And you have a really interesting solo on this one. You get stuck on this one riff, and I really like that a lot because you used to hear that more in jazz, people using repetition for building up tension. But people have gotten away from that a bit. But I really like that once in a while when it stands out. And I thought, if I thought of that riff, I would want to keep it going too. And I really like that. Like, understood. Yeah.
That comes from my influence of Grant Green and Pat Martino. They do that stuff, especially Pat Martino is doing this kind of, idea a lot. So yeah, I'm like, why not? It's kind of an homage to these heroes.
Yeah, that fit that tune perfectly. And the next track, another one of your originals, Brianna. This sounds like a female name association. There must be a story with this one too.
Yeah, so basically this one I wrote this one like after learning and investigating the story of Breonna Taylor.
Okay.
That's a surprise.
Yeah. So I was really shocked about that, this whole story. I was like, okay. And again, it was like also during quarantine and basically during this time that the Black Lives Matter movement, was also really strong also here in Berlin and stuff, and was protesting and everything. And basically, I was really like shocked with this story, and I was like, maybe I can write something about that, and in a way that people might actually get to, listen more of and learn more about this situation and what's going on, because especially like in Greece, nobody really knows that stuff, And unfortunately, we have similar situations when we don't really understand that, things like that are always bad, and no matter where you're from or, who you are, it will get you in the end, So at least you should be aware. That's the story of Brianna.
And this one, you get like a kind of samba feel to it too, so it's a change up.
Yeah, it's something like it's something like a fast bossa nova, boogaloo kind of something between their idea. Yeah.
Yeah. This is where Dimitris Tsakos joins on sax too,
That's right.
So it's another element to the album. That's true. Yeah. Nice having sax.
I really like how he plays on this track, and I really believe he's also really great. He's also like a really important member of the Greek scene. Right. And I'm really happy that he played on my album because, we haven't really played so much together. It's not like we're like playing gigs and stuff so much, but he was really happy to record some tunes, and I think it also creates something new on the album, and who knows, maybe the next one will be with him as a member on all tunes,
Yeah, he's got a real uplifting kind of character to his playing.
Yeah.
What I liked about this tune, I really like the chord changes on this tune. When you hear original tune and then you're trying to like figure out and listening to where it goes, this one kept me kind of surprised, like in the directions that the chord changes go through in it. So I thought it had a real fresh sound. And then I imagine, he probably came in and only saw the tune a couple times and then blew through it. And so the combination of your kind of interesting chord changes and then his improvisations on that, I found that really interesting to listen to.
Yeah, I think it's, I guess I was lucky with this one,
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
Like that.
Yeah. And then we switch back, Curtis Mayfield, Freddie's Dead. This is a cool choice, because this has got that killer groove to it, right?
Yeah, I really like this riff, this It's like, this is like, I can just listen to that all day and I'll be happy, like, that's the thing, I really also, I was influenced from these albums that, Dave Stryker has, like, he has these albums that are called 8-track. And they're like 8-track 1, 8-track 2, 8-track 3. And he has also one that's called 8-track Christmas. So if you're aware of that, he's playing in an organ trio situation, but also with some tunes with saxophone and some tunes with vibraphone. Basically, organ trio with vibraphone is an amazing combination. It's like also done with Graham Greene and Bobby Hutcherson and, this era. Yeah. But yeah, he has these albums. And Dave was also one of my teachers in Groningen, like in the Netherlands. He was coming as a visiting teacher. And basically, I learned so much from him. And I'm always forever grateful, And yeah, he has these albums where he plays, as he calls them, the tunes of the 8-track. That was the idea, like that he grew up. And he has actually this on 8-track 1, this tune that's called from Curtis Mayfield that is like Pusherman Superfly. And I was like, oh, that's cool, And then I started like, oh, maybe I can try to do something like that. And I found Freddy's Dead. That's like, this riff is amazing. So like, okay, let's do this one, How can I fix it? I had some other chords on the bridge and stuff. And yeah, I think it worked in the end.
Yeah. This one, it's got that gospel-y kind of organ thing going on. And this really, I noticed Papadopoulos' drumming is great on this one because he gets the...
Yeah, it really brings another vibe. Like it's really cool what he did there. It's like...
He gets that clicky thing going in the beginning, but then the groove changes up to that ride feel with the accented cymbals and that switch, and then it carries over like in your solo. And so whenever you have the solo section that alternates between the two grooves, I feel like it really feeds the solo into pushing into the next section, and you really bring that out. I thought this is one of your more intense solos on the record, going between those two grooves that come on this tune. It was really exciting.
I mean, I was really also like, this tune is one of my favorites actually that is on the album, and I was really happy with it. I think we just did that with one take or something. It's like, it kind of came, like boom, natural kind of, which is,
the feel was there.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that one really just grooves. Yeah. And I mean, the organ is great on it too. I like the gospel feel, but he gets those kind of hits, the little percussive backing that keeps the groove going. And it's like, oh yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, it was a highlight for me too. I really like this one. It's a good and interesting interpretation. Yeah.
Then you've got the one standard, jazz standard, Loverman. And, here you have kind of an extended guitar intro to that makes it kind of unique.
Yeah. So the idea of this one is like, so we're going to also release a vinyl. So a vinyl of the album, right?
Oh, okay.
Not only CD.
Right.
Yeah. So the plan was that the vinyl would be ready around September. But as they informed me like a couple of days ago, the vinyl will be probably ready during Christmas or this time, unfortunately.
Right.
There's like really a huge waiting time now with vinyls. Unfortunately, that has to do also, I think, with the war and everything that's going on.
Right.
Anyway, so the idea was like we wouldn't put Loverman on the vinyl because it didn't fit like time-wise, because on the vinyl you have to have like 40 minutes or something.
Right.
And we recorded it kind of like, let's have it and see what happens, because it was also one of the ballads that I really love, and we played also on gigs. And it's like, it was the first, I think, version is from Billie Holiday, which I like really love. I really love all the vocal jazz tradition and all the, great jazz singers, Sarah Vaughan, Billie Holiday, all this. It's like, for me, it's amazing, Anyway, and we did that, just also I think it was really one take or something, like, okay, just have it. And then we said, okay, maybe we can just use it on the CD, because it's also something different from the vibe that's before. It kind of brings down all the energy and kind of washes away, everything that happened before.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is another place where, like in the intro, you get to mix the runs and the chords together and sort of outline the whole melody, before it gets going in. I really liked that.
I think it's also important, guitar-wise, like to, in a way, as a guitar player, to be able to perform, like, let's say, solo guitar, like by yourself, create everything. It's kind of like also a tradition of the guitar that little by little is getting, more and more out of the window,
Right.
But it's something that all the great guitar players could do. If you just give them one guitar, they could just play a gig for an hour by themselves.
Yeah. I've, do you know the guitarist Jimmy Ponder?
Yeah.
And
sure.
I have a couple of his, he's not a major name. I think only guitar players know him, but I have a few recordings of gigs of just him by himself, for like an hour. And then it's really amazing to listen to, thinking about
and
all
it's
the
also
parts.
a really important kind of, it's not that easy as in the piano, like in the piano you have the chord on this hand, the melody on the other hand. Okay, it's easier, but in the guitar it's like a practice itself. It's an art form itself.
To do all
I believe
the different things at once. Or like of course the master of that is Martin Taylor, right? He does the bass line and the melody and the chords, and whenever I watch his videos he tries to explain it and I just get more angry. It's like, how can you do all those three parts at once? It's nice to see.
For me, right now, Pasquale Grasso is doing that really amazing.
We talk about him a lot too. Yeah.
It's like, I actually have bought his like masterclass videos and stuff and tried to figure out some stuff by myself. It's a work in progress. Hopefully one day.
He's just got a new one out. Bebop is the title. I think it came out last week or something. Yeah. So.
Wow.
And I also love he's playing with Samara Joy, like this album of Samara Joy, and he plays the guitar there.
Right, it's one of our favorite albums of last year.
Yeah,
really.
we picked that as one of the best from last year. Yeah, that was great.
I think it is. I really was listening to that like every day, probably. It's really great.
Yeah, what a voice! That pure young voice. It's kind of makes you just sit up and notice.
Sometimes you actually with that stuff. I believe that there is actually something from God or something, I think with her like voice is like from somewhere else, it's a gift.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you can buy an instrument and learn to play it, but so much of your voice is what's, born and given into you. So.
Right.
That's right. And also, as far as I understand, it's like the tradition and where she's like, she grew up and the influences that she has since she was a kid, because that's really important, like the influence you have when you're a kid.
Yeah.
It basically creates your whole life in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. What goes in stays in there and comes out later, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know about this next track, Lockdown, which was obviously written recently. Within the last few years.
Also during the lockdown,
Yeah, it kind of, this one has kind of a restless groove to it. I was very interested to hear that. I'm wondering what your sort of inspiration was for this one. Obviously you're locked down, but what was going on?
Yeah, I mean, that was also during the lockdown, and basically, as I said before, all of these tunes, or most of them, have some kind of story that was created during the lockdown, and basically that's where I wrote most of those.
Mm-hmm.
And the lockdown tune has this kind of frustration.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Let's say anxiety, not knowing what's gonna happen, idea going on. Like, I wrote that, like, especially here in Germany at some point with vaccinations and stuff was really crazy. Like, you couldn't find an appointment to do your vaccination, and everything was crazy, and people were like, even, I don't know, selling appointments on the black market or stuff like that. And this whole like, wow, are we doing that now? Like, we're in 2021 and we have to do that stuff. And this whole frustration came out as this tune, Lockdown. That's why it's also fast and kind of nervous and kind of, pushing it in a way.
Yeah.
We in Japan were watching all this. We were never locked down here. We were always sort of free to go out. So I guess we just kind of landed in the right place during all of this.
Yeah. It wasn't so bad.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this one, that kind of tension works because it gets a real kind of post-bop anxiety to it. And this one has that kind of changing, kind of syncopated and then swing, kind of alternating feel that kind of builds up that tension. And really nice drumming on this one, too, I thought. Your solo on this one's kind of got a dual personality, too. It's got like kind of fast accented chords and then more fluid kind of things in it, too. So there's like a duality to this song in a lot of different ways that makes it interesting.
Yeah, I think this one's kind of like, portrays my influences from Pat Martino and from Dave Stryker, of course. But also this more like chord stuff from Wes. And also I really like Ed Cherry that he does this kind of chord solo, chord melody, ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like I think it kind of brings out all of them in a way.
Now that you mentioned, I can see a lot of the Pat Martino approach in his original tunes in this one and then the playing too. And we get a drum solo here too. And it's kind of like he's been saving up for this. There's a lot of energy released here. That was
true.
good. Yeah.
That's true.
I like
That's
that.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And also Dimitris plays also amazingly here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, blowing, kind of like this post-bop sound,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an intense tune. This is a really good one. And I like, there's certain parts in it where the bass is important and it's got that real walking kind of bass feel, which is hard to get authentic, on an organ bass, but it comes through with that kind of same bite that acoustic bass would have.
Yeah, that's like really, one of the most difficult things when you play organ is have this walking bass happening.
Yeah.
And actually that's like a different study by itself. Like I think Dr. Lonnie Smith was also playing bass, and some people actually study, like some organ players actually study bass lines from great bass players in order to be able to do that,
Right.
Of course, it's like not the same as an acoustic bass, but you have to really understand how a bass player thinks in order to do that.
Yeah.
And that's usually the most difficult thing because there are people who play piano and they're like, okay, I can play some organ. And then if you want to play something like that, that's it, they cannot follow because they haven't practiced this idea. And usually if someone is, kind of auditioning to be an organ player, that's the thing it's really asked to do. Like if you can actually walk the bass,
Yeah. Because bass players think differently than other musicians do. They see things from that bottom pivot, and that's why they write songs differently too. And then I think if you ask other musicians to play a bass line, we can't do it the same way that a bass player naturally thinks from, being on it's kind of like a catfish that lives on the bottom all the time, right? They just see things differently. Yeah. Yeah.
I believe basically the bassist is like the most important element of a band, if you have a good bass player, probably you have a good band.
Yeah.
It's kind of like also some people think that the drummer is a timekeeper or something. I think basically that's why the bass player is a timekeeper, but he's also the harmony keeper.
Yeah.
So it's like the most difficult job, it's like playing football, like soccer, if you don't have a goalkeeper, then no matter what the people in front do, you will always lose, It's really, I really admire how some, think of Ron Carter and these legends. It's like, the Miles band without Ron Carter wouldn't be the same, big time.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a huge fan of really good bass players.
Yeah, I think in Ron Carter's case, jazz wouldn't be the same if we didn't have him. He's been on so many albums. He really shaped a lot of the sound that we hear.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got such a great organist. I mean, he's very convincing through the whole album with the bass. I was admiring. When I think to notice, I said, "Oh, yeah, that's that's what a bass would be doing."
Yeah.
And then we end up with another one of your original "Time's Up." This one is kind of like a waltzing feel tune, right? But it's got that kind of the opening riff kind of gets you in a little trance kind of feel for this one. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, the story of this one is more like, many times when I was visiting like friends and family and stuff in Greece, or, you know, when I had to spend some specific amount of time in a place and then I had to leave. And you always have this kind of feeling of, oh man, when we're gonna be together again and when we're gonna like spend time together again. And you always go and you're like, okay, I'm gonna stay 5 days, but always these 5 days are like too little in the end, you know?
Right.
So it's like time's up, you know? No matter what you do, you know, time will be up, you know, you have to go in the end, you know?
Yeah.
That's the idea of this one. That's why it has this kind of melancholy kind of chord in the end, kind of this kind of open what's going to happen idea, you know?
It's got that kind of chord that hangs. That, and it really builds that tension, like it can't move on from that. And then when it does, you know, it just sort of creates a kind of a harmonic hurdle in the middle that you have to get over or get through. Yeah.
That's the idea.
Interesting. Yeah. You know, it's nice to have kind of a waltzing tune in there. Yeah. So it's a really interesting collection of tunes. I thought it takes you in a lot of different directions, back in time, into the current time. It's a nice little kind of musical program.
Yeah, I believe, you know, it's like, as I told you before, most of these tunes, we're playing them on concerts and stuff, and they were like, let's say, tested. But I really believe that it's important for, like, let's say, jazz musicians and musicians in general to kind of talk about what's going on socially in our lives too, you know? Because I think the last, let's say, I don't know, some years, jazz is kind of getting this more kind of academic idea.
Yeah.
Right.
That, you know, it's kind of some kind of music and we don't talk really about anything. We just play our notes and that's it. And we're like highly, let's say, you know, our technique is great and everything. And we play different difficult chords and different difficult time signatures, which is great. But, you know, I think as an artist, in the end of the day, you have to have a message, you know?
Right.
And all the artists that I love, and we all love, like, you name it, you know, Billie Holiday, you know, like Strange Fruit and all that stuff. I also recently watched this movie, like Billie Holiday versus the United States. It was like really great. But yeah, if you think about it, also Danny Hathaway, his tunes, Nina Simone, you know, Abbey Lincoln with Max Roach, all that stuff, you know. And, you know, like, I think we should talk about what's going on in our society.
Yeah.
Like, even if we play jazz, I think jazz is actually a music that always had to do with that stuff, you know? Yeah. And, okay, I'm not like from the States or I'm not living in the 50s or the 60s, but unfortunately, a lot of really bad things are happening now too. And not only in the States, but also all over the world.
Yeah.
If we don't talk about that and we don't have like some kind of social awareness, why are we artists in the end, you know?
Yeah, and at the same time, like you're saying, there's sort of in jazz, there's technical pressure, you know, like you say, like now odd time signatures or something. And it's sort of like, I feel like probably there's some pressure for players like, oh, we got to let's make something that's kind of difficult here or, you know, something that's new. But if you lose that connection of that direct feeling, you know, that visceral thing where the emotion grabs people into the tune,
exactly,
it becomes an academic exercise. And then, you know, you listen to it once and you say, well, yeah, I guess that was, you know, interesting or impressive. But if it doesn't grab you, you know, somewhere deeper, you're not going to go back and listen to it again because the emotional, where you touch those sort of emotional points and make people feel things, that's what makes people listen again. And, you know, so I think you did a really good job of providing a lot of different emotional feels, moods, and you know.
Thank you very much, actually, because that was really my goal. Thank you very much for saying that, because I, like, seriously, the number one thing for me is like to actually create some kind of connection to the one who listens to the music, you know?
Right.
Because really this thing really kind of stresses me out with this kind of, you know, academic idea of music, not only jazz, but in general. Like, music is, for me, it's like an art that always, you know, especially like if you think, you know, like the Mediterranean people, like Greek people, Spanish people and stuff, everybody will just sit together on a table, have a dinner, play some music, play bouzouki, whatever, play fados in Portugal. It's something that's social, and especially jazz music, it's a social music. Like taking it out of the social core and bringing it to like a more highly academic level, which is great, of course, but who's your target audience, or what is your message again? I think that's the most important. What is your message?
Right.
Like,
yeah, I certainly hope jazz is going to stay that way. And your record certainly caught our attention, so I'm quite happy. I'm now going to have to go back and listen to it again right now to keep these things in mind.
You have the CD, so you can do that.
I will do that, yeah. Thanks again for that.
So, Jako,
no, thank you.
My next question, then, you got this great organ trio recording out. So what's next? I mean, what do you see yourself doing after this? Do you want to do some more like organ trio things, or are there some different sort of formations, groups, or types of things that you have in mind that you want to move on to next?
So personally, I would like to, investigate more a little bit the organ trio sound, maybe add some horns and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I believe, like, in a way in my mind, this is kind of like the sound I like, and I really want to, like that I can express myself as better as good as possible. And I really like the combination of piano, guitar, and bass without any drums. And I would like to try to do something there where there is no drums, but the tunes are not really, let's say, only standard or something. So I'm trying to figure out what can happen there and still continue the organ trio, maybe develop it more, add horns, put some new tunes in. It's always a process. Nobody knows. Sometimes you plan things, but life has another, idea.
Right.
So you have to keep going, keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, looking forward to finding out what the next thing is going to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Jako, thanks a lot for talking to us today. This was a real pleasure to meet you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for keeping the music alive, because it's really important to have people who try to discover new stuff and actually spend their time and energy and everything in order to support people like me who are not famous, but also like more famous people. It's important to share the music. I think that's the most important thing. Share the music with people we love.
Yeah, that's what we hope to do. Get newer artists, international artists from all over. If the music's good, we want to hear it, and we want to share it, make it easy for everyone to find. So be sure to check this recording out, everyone, if you haven't yet. Safe Place, the Jako Organ Trio. We'll put the links down to where you can get the CD if you like.
What's the label?
So the label is a Berlin-based label that's called QFTF.
QFTF, okay. There you go.
That's right.
So do that. We'll put the streaming links down if you want to check it out if you haven't heard it yet as well. But we recommend you just go out and order this CD because you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's got great photos. It's just good to have that CD in your hand, putting the whole ritual, putting it in the machine, hearing this great sound. We were just talking about this earlier.
Yeah. And just wait for the vinyl. It's coming soon.
Vinyl's coming soon too. Okay, keep that in mind.
Yeah, so thanks again, Jako, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Our pleasure. And check out these links. And we'll have it up with the episode so you can access
we'll have it up
all
this
those
week,
tracks this week's. All right. So this has been an interview for Iakovos Symeonidis, new Safe Place. And we'll see you again next week for another new episode.